Hello there. I had to do it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another special, Hyperhero Special. This episode is sponsored by Skillshare, but we'll get to that in a minute. Before we get into that, we want to talk about 20 most essential Clone Wars episodes before Season 7. So before we do get into it, though, I want to remind everybody, Hector and I completionists will always recommend that you all go watch from Season 1 to 6 in chronological order. Now, if you want to know how to watch this series in chronological order, we'll put a link down in the description from StarWars.com. They break down exactly in what order you should watch it in.
And they even have a link now where you click it and it goes straight to Disney Plus with that episode or movie. So it's
they know how to make money and make it work. And if you're asking why, well, it's because sometimes it happens in animation that sometimes things are made out of order and episodes have to sort of be reshuffled around. But if you want the complete chronological version or order, you can go check that out in the link down below.
Highly recommended.
We're going to be talking about 20 essential Clone Wars episodes. Now, this was recommended by Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus and you load up the main page, it'll tell you there'll be a little section that'll be called Essential Episodes.
On Disney Plus?
On Disney Plus. And it has these 20 episodes that we're going to talk about.
I would love it if they put the chronological order as an option.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
If only. We've talked about that so many times, and we're still waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
So this is just the 20 essential episodes that have been recommended by Disney Plus, or I guess you can say have been presented by Disney Plus. There are going to be some things that we're going to recommend on top of this, but obviously with sort of time being a huge player and a huge factor into how you're going to try to catch up on Clone Wars.
Or refresh, because I know a lot of people, I mean, listen, there were people that watched it when the show was coming out live, which means they're done in 2014.
Yeah.
It is now 6-7 years later, you know what I mean, for Season 7 to come back, so this could also be a refresh for some people.
And for you, you just binged the whole thing from start to end.
Boom, baby.
Not today, but
done. Yeah, all in one day.
How many hours did that take?
I don't know, man, but it was really worth it. It was really worth it because a lot of it is, not to knock the show, a wonderful show, but a lot of it is like a kid-friendly,
of course,
limited animation budget, just like a lot of shows. But then a lot of it is like looks amazing and has incredible story arcs and rich storytelling. So it was this great combination of like, I'm going to put this episode on. What episode is this? Oh, this is a Jar Jar episode. Guess what? I'm folding laundry. Like it's fine to have on. And then when it got to stuff where it's like, now Darth Maul's back, I'd be like, well, hang on. And I was so invested.
So the first episode we're going to talk about is episode 101, Ambush. Master Yoda is accompanied by a group of clone troopers. They go to Toydaria.
That's right.
To meet the Toydarians. Lots of money.
Boy, oh boy.
So basically Yoda is on this mission. He's trying to basically win over Toydaria to join the Republic. He doesn't know this yet, but there might be some dark side lingering about. Particularly a brand new character introduced in Clone Wars, Yoda and Ventress.
I'm a big fan of this character, namely because I was also a fan of the Gendy Clone Wars. And she technically first appeared there. And now
amazing lightsaber battle with Anakin.
Really, really good. Those 2 seasons of the show have now been rendered like not canon. But I still love them, and I need to track down the DVD for Season 2. I have the DVD for Season 1. I love them, and I loved Yoda and Ventress from that show. And this show really explores the character in a different way, and I'm super appreciative of that too.
Absolutely,
so, very
I think
cool.
That's so great. We're gonna try to not do too many spoilers, but there's one beautiful moment that sort of adds on what you're talking about. How this show really took all the 2D characters and literally made them three-dimensional, both in animation and just in characters themselves. Beautiful moment between Yoda and the clone troopers and how they say like, oh, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth, and he really reinforces to them like, no, you're all individuals. You have your own, you have your own look. You have your own
Take your helmets off.
Take your helmets off. I want to see who you are. And beautiful moments, and I think that really encapsulates sort of like what the show did so incredibly well for Star Wars, the Star Wars universe.
Speaking of the clones, the next episode is 105, Rookies.
Yes.
Commander Cody and Captain Rex lead a rookie team of clone troopers through an engaging battle against a droid commando invasion that gives us first look at just how important Clone Wars was to developing the clones as characters.
Another beautiful way of just expanding on those characters, and I think that's why characters like Rex and Cody became so popular, and why when they return in Rebels, people were losing their mind.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
it was cool to see
amazing.
Clones survive the Order 66 or like just survive the Empire, and it was cool to see clones defect. That was, as soon as the show started to do that, where you would meet this guy who like got amnesia and then went and got a family, or just defected and went and started a family because he disagreed with the war and was able to fight that programming. Like, I love that stuff. I also want to say I have a favorite clone death. Do you have a favorite clone death?
Ooh.
I feel like, dude, how could it not be
99.
99.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, I knew as soon as I saw him, he's introduced in an episode, and then we meet him again later. But
Yeah.
as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, no, so sad.
Yeah.
And he was so all about it. That great sort of, it used a lot in storytelling and literature, this character with the heart of gold, but like he can't because of how he was born.
Of course.
And did right by the actor who played Boba Fett, young Boba Fett, because they brought him back.
Daniel
Logan, and he was awesome. They brought him back because it was not the actor who played Django
Tamara Morrison
in the cartoon show.
Right.
It was
D.
I
Bradley
think it was
Baker.
D. Bradley Baker doing this incredible like voice likeness.
Yeah.
So Daniel Logan comes back to play young Boba, and like he's given story arcs of like, oh man, what a great character.
And Daniel
Anyway,
Logan's like, oh, finally,
yeah,
thank God.
young Boba is like awesome in this show. Really cool. Yeah.
So this is season 2, episodes 5 through 8, so 4 episodes, and this is sort of the first arc where Padmé finds out that a senator may have some separatist ties and might be connected to the separatists, so the Jedi have to go on a mission back to Geonosis. We go back to one of the locations from Attack of the Clones, where the Clone War first began, and you've got Anakin, Obi-Wan, and the clones. They discover that the Geonosians might have turned into zombie-like beings. Meanwhile, Ahsoka Tano and her troops, not necessarily ambushed, but whatever is sort of turning the other Geonosians into zombies has now infected her clone troop, so she's also very much in danger of potentially being killed. But we know she makes
Question
it
mark?
Come
we
on.
know she makes it
She's
out.
she's in the new season. But this was really cool because this was a really nice opportunity to revisit a location from a previous movie.
Yep.
And to sort of get, I kind of dubbed it Battle of Geonosis Part 2. And to see the Geonosians as these like zombie-like creatures and to see this like Geonosian worm infecting all these characters and some maybe even infecting some of the Jedi was a really fun way to sort of do like a horror-like episode of Clone Wars.
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as it doesn't sort of like break that membrane of the restrictions of the rules of the world too much.
Exactly.
You can get a lot of cool genres within Star Wars, and as long as you're playing with that myth element and everything, and we'll get to some weird stuff later. But
yeah, and I love the fact that like this is one of a few arcs that kind of happens in Clone Wars, and I love that.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, when it's episode to episode, it's still fun for me.
Yeah,
but man, when we get into these 3, 4, 5 episode arcs, especially when old villains come back,
love it. And a thing that I think is really cool is I've seen a lot of people talk about this show in general on YouTube, a lot of great videos and stuff. Shout out to Cosmonaut Marcus, who's a friend of our show, who would say like this show would highlight Padme as like a character and not just in episodes 2 and 3 especially, Natalie Portman being underutilized and just being a sort of plot point to further. Do you know what I mean? Just a plot point and a womb to further like Anakin. Whereas in during this show, you realize, oh, she's fighting a two-front war. She's like a hero and she's thrown down and she's in the action, but she's also like a senator and she's trying to like politically navigate everything that's happening. Is the guy that she's investigating? Is it Clovis?
Yeah, I think so.
And then they have a
later,
history.
There's some history there.
So there's some personal Anakin stuff there, and their relationship is really strengthened to the point where you go, wow, they're like good characters just trying to be with each other instead of like awkward like wooden robotronic acting. But I feel real bad.
It gets everywhere.
It's
no
real
one can
bad.
see what I just did.
But
okay.
right. He was just rubbing my. So next we have season 2, episode 12 through 13, an arc, but kind of continues in 14, which is the Mandalore plot. Is episode 12, season 2, and 13 is Voyage of Temptation. An old flame of Obi-Wan Kenobi is introduced, Duchess Satine of Mandalore. She's like the person who runs Mandalore. He is assigned to protect her from a terrorist organization called Death Watch. This is where Mandalore really starts to become a hugely important part of Clone Wars canon and leads to a heartbreaking turn of events for Obi-Wan. And the story concludes in episode 14, Duchess of Mandalore. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi did not have an elderly wife in A New Hope. There's a reason for that. But this was also a great introduction to this. I know that in the past EU, if you read the history of like every Star Wars book ever written, in old novels, Obi-Wan Kenobi had up to like 3 potential love interests in his various stories and everything.
Jedi Apprentice in the books, they always were like, oh, Obi-Wan has feelings for this Jedi and that Jedi.
Fine, that's fine. But what's cool is that just focusing on this one character, you feel that history, you feel that struggle that he has, and it's a great way to compare what Anakin is going through, where Anakin's like, no, I'm going to be married, and just like gave into it, and it's a secret, and kind of what he's dealing with and everything. So really wonderful stuff there. Mandalore is obviously cool. That guy, Pre Vizsla, who I'm pretty sure is named after pre-visualization.
We prevised him.
Pretty sure he's just like an inside industry joke.
In previs, like, what do we name this guy? I don't know, man.
Sure.
We're in this previs.
This is storyboardo. Here he comes right here. Like, this is animatico, whatever. But he is voiced by Jon Favreau, Pre-Vizsla, and he has the Darksaber. So that's the first time you see it and kind of learn about it. Yep. Really cool ties to the Mandalorian show. And then later, Darth Maul gets mixed up in all that. It's really dope. Yeah.
Well, and I think, again, kind of going back to how this show was able to expand a lot of stuff, Obi-Wan Kenobi, for the most part, very much by the book.
Yes.
Jedi followed the code, followed everything. Anything and everything that the Jedi represented, he always followed it. But it's nice to see a shade of Obi-Wan where it's like, as much as he likes to present himself as being the wisest Jedi of them all, he also, just like any other human being,
they're all people.
I love it. They all fall in love.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to sort of see. It was a very unexpected thing for me when I first saw it, and to sort of see that arc and then to see how it concludes. You're like, man, this is a great foreshadowing for what's potentially to come in the future with Anakin and Padmé.
Yeah. It also strengthens when you watch the prequel movies by themselves and you really try to overanalyze them, you go, wait a minute, like the stuff that the good guys are doing doesn't make sense. It's very contradictory. This show actually expands on that and makes it go, you're right. It doesn't make sense. The Jedi Order is flawed, and we're going to show you how.
Yep.
And we're going to show you how it affects the people within the Order.
Yep.
And we're going to show you how it leads to the decisions that Anakin makes later, where he's like, I'm going to be the strong, and it kind of informs that. So really cool.
This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an amazing online learning community for creatives where millions of people come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. I love using this service. This service is so great. If you want to learn how to be perhaps an editor, if you want to learn how to color correct using something like DaVinci Resolve, I also really do enjoy business.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff for productivity. If you want to learn how to maybe streamline your process in life, you can join Skillshare today for less than $10 a month. And the first 500 of our subscribers can click the link down in the description, and you'll get 2 months free of premium membership.
Wait. The first 500 people to click a link are going to get 2 free months of Skillshare?
Absolutely.
That's dope.
But guys, make sure you click the link below. Get 2 months of premium Skillshare.
But only the first 500 of you.
Only the first 500 of you. So click it quickly. And let's get back to the Clone Wars video.
Okay.
Bye. Then we've got episode 302, so we're now jumping into season 3. This one's called Arc Troopers, and this is where General Grievous and Asajj Ventress lead an attack on Kamino, the cloning facility, with Obi-Wan, Anakin, Shaak-Ti, and the 501st there to defend it.
Yeah, I remember that. Again, returning to Kamino, another Attack of the Clones location with those long, skinny aliens.
The Kaminoans.
Cool. The Kaminoians.
Yeah.
San Diegans.
Sure,
San Diegoans.
Those two.
Next, season 4, episode 21, Brothers, into episode 22, Revenge. This was the biggie. When this was happening, I was like, finally, because again, as an outsider of this show for years, I knew that this was the thing. I knew Clancy Brown voiced a Maul type character. Like, I knew that Maul came back. When I finally got to the episode, I was being very skeptical, honestly.
Really?
And when the show actually presented how it delved into the myth of this resurrection and the Night Sisters and Savage Opress and all of that, I went, this is dope. I was like, sold. Dude, it's very good. It's very, very good. Zach just yelled favorite episode. So, episode 21, Brothers. Savage Opress, armed with a magical amulet from Mother Talzin, the leader of the Night Sisters, lands on an Outer Rim planet to continue his search for his brother, Darth Maul, who has somehow survived the events of being cut in fucking half from the Phantom Menace, and he has been driven mad. And it was excellent. The cool spider legs, the Night Sisters using their powers to, like, their dark side powers to, like, get him straight, and then his whole arc after that, But the show uses the mythology of Star Wars and uses those kinds of that kind of imagery and that kind of feeling and everything, and it's all character work. It's all Darth Maul as a character, and you feel for him in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like, you feel for him and his brother and like everything that's happened, and while still rooting against them. And I thought it was just like excellently done.
Yeah. Now we're up to season 5, episode 6, The Gathering. Ahsoka escorts a group of younglings to Elam, where they will learn from Yoda and undergo a crucial crucial rite of passage, something we just talked about. The construction of their first lightsabers, they call it the Gathering. They grapple with both physical and inner challenges as they face the dangerous task ahead of them.
This ended up being one of my favorite episodes
dope.
and story arcs.
Yeah.
But this moment specifically, like moved me to tears. Like I was like so blown away at how much I love this moment. But it is the trials. It is the building of a lightsaber. We saw a piece of it in Gendy's Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that? And like you're saying, it was probably described in older comic books and novels. But what's really cool is that as Clone Wars was happening, this is still before the Disney change.
Yeah.
But Clone Wars is still considered canon, and it, so technically this is the first time in sort of the new canon that we're seeing this in a story, and especially in any kind of like moving picture, not a comic book or a novel.
Comic book, right.
And it's beautiful, and it like these characters all had great personalities, but of course I love the Wookiee, the Wookiee kid, because any Wookiee Jedi, any Force sensitive Wookiee, it's like the best character.
One Wookiee, two Jedi, mix those together, and it's like the coolest character in the whole episode.
And
Come on.
The other great and sad thing about this show is that you know that all these characters die. You know that like most of these Jedi are getting wiped out, and these kids are just starting out. You know what I mean? That adds to the tragedy, and that's why I think I was moved to tears. Is that each of these kids are picking like the material, the crystal found them, and it's all very mythological, and it's all very mystical, and it's like
I've been to Galaxy's Edge. I've seen it in person.
It all goes back to everything is, I think, trying to recreate Empire Strikes Back, Luke walking into that tree.
The mysticism,
That's all
the magic.
Star Wars is. That's all it is. Every good Star Wars story has an element of that.
Yeah.
So this nails it. But to see that the Wookiee talking to the droid, and I forget who voiced the droid. I think it was somebody fun. It was really cool. This like ancient droid that was like, telling them like how to do it. I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody told me on Twitter who it was, but it's like he has a role similar to Ollivander in Harry Potter, right? Handing them. So the Wookiee finally like thought about it and felt about a material that would be like good for him, and it was wood. And I was just like, dude, I hope this
Wookiees and Kashyyyk, come on.
I hope this kid survived somehow. Please tell me he survived. But he probably didn't. Anakin probably killed him. It's some clones. It's bullshit. But such a great moment. Really, really cool story arc. And then they go and they have to like save Ahsoka, and then they have to pretend they're in a circus. It gets ridiculous, but it's really fun and really funny. So next up. So now I think this might be in chronological, because we just went from episode 6 of season 5. We're going back to episode 1.
That's right.
I remember episode 1 of season 5, it being in the wrong order because it's just this one-off.
Yeah.
And in chronological order, they're saying, okay, you have to put this closer to episode 14, which is where it really goes back into it. But episode 1 of season 5, Revival. This is fueled by vengeance and rage. Newly reunited brothers Savage Opress and Maul spread terror and violence across the galaxy as the Sith brothers forcibly recruit Hondo Ohnaka and his pirates. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Adi Gallia chase them down, leading to a deadly confrontation. So it was the beginning, and I remember I like it makes sense for it to be a season 5 premiere to let everybody know, like, dude, Maul's in this season, but then you got to wait, and get to that stuff. So it's fun.
Plus, it's a great, Hondo Ohnaka, who ends up later on being a part of, now he's in Galaxy's Edge, but he's also a big part of Rebels.
Very cool.
Later on, which is really, really
great
cool.
Great character. Starts as like a real bad guy pirate, but he becomes sort of this pirate that's got a code where you go, okay, the Republic can use
pirate.
this guy. Yeah.
No,
that's
totally
cool.
Agree. So another arc that we've got. This is a 3-episode arc, starting with episode 514, Eminence, concluding in episode 16, The Lawless. Savage and Maul form an alliance with the Death Watch to target a common enemy, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Backed by the criminal underworld, the Sith and Death Watch launch an attack on Mandalore, using Duchess Satine as bait. Maul lures Obi-Wan into a trap and then breaks him.
He really does. Great stuff. Just great stuff. And it was cool to tie in Darth Maul into like Mandalore stuff.
Dathomir, Mandalore.
Yeah.
Such big players in this show.
Yeah.
And I really do feel like now that we have a show like The Mandalorian, that stuff is going to start playing into that, especially when you have things like Darksabers, and they're not completely shying away from Jedi, Sith, Empire, Rebellion. So I'm excited to see what other stuff we can do. But this obviously being probably one of the most heartbreaking segments of Clone Wars.
Oh, big time. Big time.
We won't spoil it for you.
Big
but
time.
It's a good
and
one.
then I think like Emperor Palpatine shows up. Or he's not Emperor yet, but Palpatine just shows up right at the end too. It's kind of almost like a post credit to just be like, no, and you're like, oh, this guy, he sucks.
This son of a bitch.
He's real evil in this. Okay, and then lastly, the last core episodes are from season 5, even though there's one story arc I would highly recommend from season 6, which we can talk about. But season 5, episodes 17 through 20 is the entire finale of the original run of the show. And then season 6 came out, and it was like the lost episode, so it was kind of extra. But really is the ending of the Ahsoka Tano story arc for now. And it is also heartbreaking. But I could finally see, after all of this time and watching the show during this time, why people were rooting for her to do what she did, which is, at the end of this story arc, she walks away from the Jedi Order.
Pieces out.
Which means that she could live. That was the whole, right? That's the whole thing. And that's that sort of like dramatic tension of knowing what happens in Revenge of the Sith. And it also ties into Anakin's decision, because it's all about how she gets framed for murder. She gets framed, and she's trying to figure out, for like murdering a witness in this trial. There's a deadly bombing at the Jedi Temple. The Republic military takes over the case, and Ahsoka has to deal with Admiral Tarkin, young Tarkin, who's like a real dick. So she's framed, and then she's a fugitive, so she escapes to try to like clear her own name, and she teams with Asajj Ventress, which is great. Like, and again, it's that story arc of like
things you would never expect. You're like, this is what the finale is going to be.
She even says it. She's like, I never thought we would do anything together. And that ties into another thing I'm going to talk about in a second. But the very last moments of these episodes in the story arc, like, she walks away from the Jedi Order because when she was up, like, on trial for murder, the Jedi Council was like, she did it. She could have done it. Like, they didn't trust her the way. So she goes, you know what? They didn't trust me. I don't know if I could have that trust back. So I have to go figure this out on my own. And she leaves.
Yeah.
And Anakin, I think, what's so brilliant is that it affects him.
Yes.
And I think it will inform how he decides to feel about the Jedi Council in Revenge of the Sith.
When Anakin says to Padme, Obi-Wan and the Council don't trust me.
Yep.
That doesn't come necessarily from a place that's just built in that movie.
Right.
The show found a beautiful way to build on that reasoning as to why. He's been through an experience like this. Someone who he deeply cares for, who he's trained, who was his mentor, has now gone through something life-changing. And this character is now questioning, what does it mean to be a Jedi? What does it mean to follow the Jedi Order, the code? And she walks away from all that.
Yeah.
She walks away, and it's not a spoiler, but she returns in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
And, like,
it's epic.
The way that they bring, the way that she talks about why she makes the decisions that she makes, what it means, and when someone refers to her as a Jedi and she just looks at them and says, I'm no Jedi, it's powerful.
It's Luke going, the Jedi must die. Like, it's that level of like, can't you see that it's vanity? Like that level of, oh man, what a story. What a story arc.
Ahsoka Tano is one of those characters that, I admittedly did not think I would really like or care for when she was first introduced. In the movie at first.
She's very kid proxy.
Yes.
That's what the character's supposed to be.
But they let the character mature into an incredible character, warrior, woman, and just a beautiful send-off. Everything that they do from Clone Wars to Star Wars Rebels is just so incredibly well done. And it's the one character who I honestly would love to see
in live
some
action,
further adventure, maybe in a TV show.
I know, man. How old is she going to be in The Mandalorian? How old could she be?
Question.
Bring her out season 2, dude. That'll crack the internet in half. Are you kidding me? Especially if they're like, if it's like Rosario Dawson, you know what I mean? Or like Tessa Thompson or something, and she's Ahsoka, because she's going to be at that age, like 45, 50, whatever. People be like, oh my God. Anyway, other stuff that I want to mention too, having just gotten through the show. Ahsoka Tano is great. The story arc where she kind of has feelings for Lux Bonteri is great. This other like freedom fighter character, well, at first he's on the side of the Separatists.
Yes.
Great little love thing, but then you meet Steela and Saw Gerrera. Right? Young
Forrest
Saw,
Whitaker,
which is
baby.
Like dope. So look out for that. The saddest clone death is 99.
Yeah.
The story arc with General Pong Krell, who's like a corrupt Jedi, and he just doesn't care about the clones. Great stuff.
I believe he's of the Dexter Jetster.
Yes, he is of that alien race. Yeah.
Race.
Like I said, Asajj Ventress is really, really compelling overall. The Night Sisters of Dathomir is interesting because it was in part inspired by the Ewok movies.
Yes.
Because in the Ewok movies, there's like a villainess who's like very much like Masters of the Evil, Conan the Barbarian. She's just like a witch. And at that point in Star Wars, they're like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. There's witches in here. Who cares? Whatever. And then it was like retroactively, designs and stuff were found and kind of used to inspire like canon Mother Talzin Night Sisters. And I'm like, this stuff is dope.
I'm into it.
And I was into it because it all stems from It's all Force usage. It's just they use it differently. I'm like, sure, magic, cool, done.
I'm in.
Like I said, Padmé's a better character. I like some of the stuff with her and Clovis, that senator guy. Like, I thought it was pretty
Well, it's also
interesting.
nice to see that like Padmé had a life outside of her relationship with Anakin.
That's what it is. The show introduces bounty hunter Cad Bane, that cool guy who kind of talks like this with a cool little electronic voice or whatever. And in one story arc, like he hunts Force-sensitive infants.
There's a little Rhodian that we see.
Just like the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
What else? The story arc in Season 6, where the Clone Fives almost discovers the conspiracy, really compelling stuff.
Chips
like,
in the head.
it was awesome.
Order 66.
I like seeing young Boba Fett, like I said.
Yeah.
The story arc on Mortis almost threw me when I watch it. But again, it's all about that mythology of Star Wars. The chosen one, the destiny that Anakin has where he's supposed to bring balance. And they go to this planet that is supposed to be like in the nexus of the Force itself. And you're just like, whoa. And the characters are the father, the son, and the daughter.
They are the they are the light and the dark, and he is the balance in between both of them.
Yep.
And he's dying, and he wants to sort of pass that over to Anakin.
Yes.
Because he knows Anakin has been birthed by midichlorians, and then he faces the sun, and he has this incredible vision of the future, and then he has it wiped from his memory. The one thing that doesn't so incredibly well about the Force is it teaches you different sort of sides and perspectives of the Force.
Yes.
The spiritual and the physical and the mystical and like all these little things, and how the Force works together.
That's the Yoda stuff. So end of Season 6, Yoda's journey is where he learns that there's a way to become still around after death, a way to become a Force ghost, and it's from Qui-Gon Jinn. He's hearing Qui-Gon's voice. He goes on this little journey, and he does exactly what you described.
And
These
Qui-Gon
characters
actually encounters Anakin in Mortis.
Yes, that's true. That's right, and voiced by Liam Neeson, which I think is really cool. They brought him back. But Yoda goes and deals with the Cosmic Force and the Living Force, and it's like it kind of goes a little bit into explaining that stuff while still introducing questions and not over-explaining it. But they mention midichlorians. They don't shy away from that stuff just because it was in a disliked movie or a disliked moment.
It's part of canon.
It's part of canon, and I'll say this. I think that this show for me reinforces, I think I figured out the perfect Star Wars viewing order overall. Here's what it is. Watch all 9 movies only in theatrical release order, so you don't get any of the surprises effectively spoiled, right? Luke, I am your father. Leia, you're my sister? Then go to the prequels, bing, bang, boom. Then go to 7, 8, 9. Oh, and also, but when you're watching for the first time, between 2 and 3, you got to watch Gendy's Clone Wars. Get that out of the way to get some, Asajj Ventress, okay, Grievous, okay, cool.
Little flavor.
Little taste. Then, once you watch, when you're done with the movies, actually go back and then from chronological order. If you want to be reading novels, read novels, but definitely read like comic paperback collections, like read the comics and watch every movie and every TV show, cartoon or live action, in chronological order. And I think that Clone Wars is a show that you kind of need to have seen the prequels, obviously, and the rest of Star Wars, at least the original trilogy. And it enhances it because it plays with destiny, and it plays with those visions, and it plays with that dramatic irony of you knowing like where the characters are going to end up,
but
and it enhances
the
it.
Journey is
it enhances
juicy.
it. The Yoda stuff is beautiful too because again, when he goes on this journey, he comes back to realize like maybe war isn't the answer. Maybe we're going to lose even if we win. Like war is bad, and you go, oh dang, this is why he quit. This is why this dude quit. Like this is why he's just like. I tried to fight Palpatine, but it didn't work out. So I was to the swamp I go. Like, so it's really, really cool. So I want to get to some stuff.
Yeah. Some Hex Rex.
Hex Rex. Row. First of all, I have been reading, and I'm almost done, this book. This is Dark Disciple, which is part of this was published when they were doing some sort of Clone Wars like extra thing where it's like, okay, we're going to give you a couple of episodes, even though the show was canceled, that were never produced in a book form. We're going to give you some episodes in a comic book form. We're going to give you some episodes in like animatics that you can see online on StarWars.com or whatever. And those sort of like 4 sort of story arcs and chunks. But this first one, highly recommend this. This is Dark Disciple. The story arc is this. In the middle of the Clone Wars, or at one point, wherever chronologically this fits, the Jedi Council's like, you know what? Dooku is really the main bad guy and the only bad guy. And if we could kill Count Dooku, this would be done. So they go, okay, Quinlan Vos, this Jedi that's kind of like a cool surfer bro, who, again, I think came from the EU, and they brought him into the show. Quinlan Vos, you're going to need to go and find Asajj Ventress, who was his Padawan, but then she left, and now she's like a bounty hunter. And at one point, she got mixed up with Boba Fett and was doing stuff with him and his crew, young Boba. Go find Asajj Ventress because she knows how to defeat him. She's tried twice and failed, but both of you working together and with her knowledge and your skill, and we need to take him out. And it's also super sexy. It's really flirty. They have
look at that cover. Come
they
on.
have feelings for one another. Like Asajj is growing her hair out a little bit. Highly recommend Dark Disciple. Christy Golden, it does such a great job of adapting these episodes that I believe were kind of originally envisioned by Katie Lucas because she wrote a couple of episodes and story arcs and stuff. George Lucas's daughter, and it just works, man. And I'm listening to the Clone Wars music, and I'm in it, and I'm reading it, and it's so cool and so fun, and just it's basically two great character focuses on these two characters. So highly recommend Dark Disciple. If you like the show Clone Wars and you haven't done this yet, do it. Next.
Link down below.
Here's the Hex Rex. You want the link for the book? The link down below. I'm going to give you the link for In Stock Trades, this comic book. Originally, Dark Horse Comics published this. Mm-hmm. This was not a Marvel book. But then when Marvel got the comic book rights, they were like, okay, well, let's just republish this because it is canon. This comes after Clone Wars. This is the resolution of some Darth Maul stuff, and really a great bridge between the last time we see him in animated form to the next time we see him in hologram form in Solo, because that's 10 years before A New Hope, right? So like he is making some moves. He becomes this literal crime lord. So highly recommend Darth Maul, son of Dathomir. Really good stuff. I mean, dude, it's all about him and Dooku. It's all about like this thing moves at such a breakneck pace. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Anyway, highly recommend that. Link down below at In Stock Trades. Listen, I'm talking 35-40% off. Their order's $50 or more. You get free shipping.
They're not even sponsoring this video.
They're not even sponsoring this video, but they should be. And hit them up on Twitter and let them know that we sent you. And yeah, so these two pieces I think are, if you're a completionist like me, like they're really fun stuff to get into for Clone Wars. So highly recommend that.
But guys, those are the 20 recommended episodes or essential episodes as recommended by Disney Plus for you to watch if you want to catch up before the premiere of Clone Wars Season 7. But if you're completionist like Hector and I, watch everything in chronological order.
That's right.
From start to finish.
All right. And if you just want to be part of the conversation, just watch episode 1 of Season 7 anyway.
Seriously.
Just do it, and then just go back and watch it all. You're
Absolutely.
fine. Everybody knows what happens. Spoiler, Anakin Skywalker is going to go bad.
You're going to become Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
But Clone Wars is an amazing show. If you haven't checked that out yet, highly recommend it. Check out some of the comics, some of the books, some of the other material that they made based around the show. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. And like Hector said, I really also do highly believe that it enriches and just brings so much more to the characters in the Star Wars universe, particularly a lot of characters that show up in later shows like Star Wars Rebels, like the clones. They're pretty dope, so watch the show.
R.I.P. 99, R.I.P.
Oh, man. Anyways, let us know in the comments below if you have any other recommendations, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Go ahead.
Go for it. It's fine.
And here's Mika. She's ruining our video talking about Clone Wars, but she's a big Star Wars fan, so she's forgiven.
Clone Wars is fantastic.
Yeah, you finish it, right?
He's recommended like 800 things to me, and they're all fantastic. So just,
Sorry.
You know.
Thanks. That's high praise.
I guess I'll cut that in.
Yeah,
that works.
You can leave it in.